in my mind, I'm like, okay, you're a miracle working God. We talk about how you raised Jesus from the grave, but you couldn't raise my baby, is what was going on, like in my mind. Like you could do all these things, but you didn't do that, so that's what was going on in my mind. So I was like angry, and like God had to take that anger away from me. I ended up going up for prayer, like that Easter Sunday, that Resurrection Sunday. And I went up for prayer, and literally my pastor prayed for me, and the Holy Spirit literally took the anger away from me. I wasn't praying because I was like, what do we have to talk about? God is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. So that had to kind of like resonate with me. And I'm like, okay, have a conversation with God, talk to him. It doesn't always have to be so, our Father, which, you can have real conversations with God. Like, God, what's up?
Why you do that?
Yeah, like what was the reason? Like what is going on? And so I actually had like a conversation with God. Like, I don't understand, and like I said, I didn't hear anything back, but I felt better talking to him. Like I felt a peace about everything. But then if you really have the word in you, you always end up finding your way back home. Like you may venture off for a little bit, but you end up coming back to what you know.
Welcome to ShineStrong, LiveLong, inspiring us to be intentional about becoming who God has designed for us to be.
Hi, this is Christina Eve, and welcome to ShineStrong, Live Long. If it's your first time here, welcome back if you are a returning viewer or listener to the podcast, or if you follow me on social media, thank you so much. This is a segment called ShineSessions, where I spotlight and have conversations with people who have said yes to God and people who are allowing the light of Christ to shine strong through them. As a result, the impact that they will leave will live long in the lives of others. So, you guys, different location. I'm really excited about today's interview. We have two waters, and I'm going to introduce to you Catirra. Catirra, welcome.
Thank you.
So, introduce yourself.
So, I'm Catirra Stokes. I am a personal stylist. I offer personal styling and wardrobe styling services. I own a business called StyledbyCat.
StyledbyCat. And so do you know how much pressure I was under trying to make sure that I wore the right stuff today, that I looked right, because I just knew that she was just going to exude so much stylish energy. So I'm going to definitely put B-roll up so you can see what I mean.
Ever since I was like a little girl, like I didn't know exactly what okay. You know how when you're a kid, you're like,
yeah.
Okay, what I originally wanted to be when I was a kid was, children's minds are just so innocent. You don't have a concept of like making a living and, all the things. So in my mind, you see someone nice and you're like, oh, that's what I want to be when I grow up, because you have a good experience. So like in my mind, I was like, I want to be a waitress at Applebee's. Oh, that was like my goal. And like
you would have made that goal. That was an easy goal.
Because like we would, every Sunday after church, we'd go to Applebee's. I don't know why that was the spot, but we would go there every Sunday. And the waitresses would always be so nice. And I was like, that is what I want to be.
That is also rare. I don't think I've ever experienced a nice waitress at Applebee's. Sorry.
It came down to like what I actually wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something involving fashion. Like even like as a kid, like I'd wear sunglasses. I have like jumpsuits on, and like I just was into that. Like I was always kind of, I don't say prissy, but yeah, pretty much like pretty much prissy as a kid. I just loved everything fashion. We'd go on vacation, and on the way, like on the drive there, I'd be in the back like trying to sketch something and like design something. So as I got older, when it came time to go to college, I wanted to pursue fashion, but my parents were also like, we're not sending you to, design school and, fashion school. So I was like, okay, let me take a different approach. So I was like, you know what, I'll just study psychology. That's what I'll do. So I applied but granted, as I'm applying as a psychology major, I was making sure that the schools I was applying to had fashion as well. Oh my So gosh. Like subconsciously, I'm like,
she was like, I'm gonna take a fashion class. Yeah. That's smart though. They're very smart.
So I ended up applying to these schools, and I didn't go in like enroll, but like I applied as a psychology major. Like that's what I wanted to study. So then I get there, and then I'm like, okay, let me change my major. So I changed my major, and they did the little welcome, and they're like, welcome, and have my name, and it's like it has your major, and it's like fashion merchandising. And my mom was like, why does it say fashion merchandising? I was like, oh, I changed my major. She's like, so you weren't gonna say anything about it? Like you weren't gonna? I was like, yeah, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but yeah. So yeah, I'm a fashion merchandising major now.
She's gonna do what she want to do.
Yeah, so I just
Bad kids. No, I'm kidding.
so I knew like fashion is something that I wanted to do. Like, okay, I can't go to design school. Well, I'm gonna go to a school that offers, fashion merchandising. Okay. Design deals with like the concept of the design, like visualizing it, actually designing it, the production of it. And then merchandising kind of deals more with the business side of it. So how are we getting it into the stores? How are we marketing it? What are the logistics of getting it from here to there? So it's
talking my language. Yeah, I like the business stuff.
So it's more business, and you can kind of do more with the fashion merchandising degree, because it is a business degree. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I knew I wanted to be in the business side of fashion, but I didn't know what that looked like what route. Because there's so many routes. You could be in fashion marketing. You could be in PR. Yeah. You could be in just like that, be like a visual merchandiser. And so there's like so many different routes to take. I was like, I don't really know which route to take. And ironically enough, so I'm, aside from like my business, like my full-time job is actually a visual merchandiser.
What is that?
So, so visual merchandising, basically they call visual merchandising silent selling is what you call it, basically. Okay. Because it sells itself without you having to say anything. So basically with visual merchandising, when you go in the store, you may not think much of it because you're just like, oh, I'm just going to the store, grabbing something. Oh, it's a cute shirt. But it's like, it's a whole, like it all comes together, like how you see it merchandised on the wall. So like the symmetry of the wall, instead of just having clothes all the way across on racks, you want to do something more visually appealing. So maybe you want to have like a fixture that's kind of like a waterfall. So you can kind of see the colors of the shirts rather than it all just being stuck on a rack. So that's a part of visual merchandising. Even like the graphics that you see up on the walls, that's a part of it. And even like when you see the mannequins, like in the windows or when you see them on their little stands, that's visual merchandising too. Cool. And it kind of sells itself because you're selling the experience also, but also you go in the store and you're like, oh my God, like that's so cute on the mannequin. Like I was coming in for a shirt, but I really like that shirt with those pants. So actually I'm going to get both now. So you're increasing your sales now because you just sold a whole outfit by just putting it on a mannequin and styling it a certain way. And that's kind of how the styling ties into, because that's also some good practice too, because you may not be styling people, but you're styling the mannequins for everyday people.
So when you go into the stores that you go into, whatever they may be, and you go in there for one thing and you see something else visually appealing in the clothes section, is because people like Catirra like to trick us into buying things that we don't need. But it's okay. No, I'm kidding. But that's really cool. I never thought about that. Yeah. Coming from, so I'm in the digital marketing side. I never, ever thought about, now I'm going to be looking at all of that stuff. Yeah. Catirra.
So that's why, like, when I go in, I mean, it's that, and there's also, like, the retail and me too. Like, I'll go to a store. It's not my store, but I just go in. Yeah. And, like, I'll see, like, certain things. And I'm like, I like how they did. So, and I, like, tell my husband, like, so you see how, okay. So the way they did that, they cause your eyes to be, like, you're just like, oh, okay. Just.
Oh, okay. That's how BJ is when I'm, like, telling him about all these stuff. Like, the billboard, do you know how much that billboard costs? And they're in 3 locations? Oh, that's so cool. So that means their budget was, who sold that to them? And this is my brain. He's like, Christina, I don't, okay.
She's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So they know, okay. It's Catirra's family right there.
And I'm like, okay, I want to own a business. What is something that I'm passionate about? What is something that I think I could be successful at doing? And so I was like, personal styling. That's an avenue that I haven't like gone in a business way, like it's more casual, like, oh, can you pick something up for me? Yeah, but nothing that I did as a business. I'm like, and then all the things, like the experiences and things that I have, I feel like it all just kind of lines up and, for that moment. And so I'm like, you know what, that's what I want to do. So I ended up launching my personal styling business. It took me a while to launch it because I was like, thinking everything had to be perfect, like the website needs to be, exactly. It needs to come together first, and then I need to make sure, before I do this. And it's just like, why don't you just start it? And it's like, well, no, I need to make sure, you know, so wanting everything to be perfect, you know.
Yeah. Oh, so when did you start it, like officially?
So officially it was January of last year. Yeah, January 2024. So I offer group styling. So that's kind of like if you're like, okay, we want to take family pictures. We want the coordination of, you know, putting all of our outfits together. That's one option. Another option that I offer is photo shoot styling. So let's say you have a photo shoot coming up. Yes, I'll like, you know, pick out your outfit for the photo shoot, but then I'll also come to the shoot with you, make sure you're straight, you know, make sure this is pulled back, that's tucked in, whatever, you know, while they're taking the pictures.
Yeah.
And then I just have personal styling, which is more like, that could be like an event, you know, like, oh, I have this event, this gala that, you know, I'm going to, can you please put something together for me to wear for this gala? That's that. But I would say the most popular one in the main service that I offer is the wardrobe revamp, which is what you have. A lot of times, like clients, that'll be what they're looking for. It's not necessarily like, okay, I have an event, I want to know what to wear. It's more like, I don't know what my personal style is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, Catirra has blessed me. Because when I was saying that I was being real careful about what I was going to wear today, it's because I was one of her clients. She took me shopping. She went through all my wardrobe. And it was virtual that day. So even virtually, went through my whole closet, all my wardrobe, what like I should keep, what I shouldn't keep, what was in fashion and what wasn't. And I still had stuff from like 10 years ago, guys, that I was keeping or holding on to just because.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah, I don't even, like now, I don't even miss it. It's crazy how I was just holding on to all this stuff. And then we went shopping. And that was really helpful. Like she went through, she was like, you could do this and this and this and this. And she didn't pressure me to buy anything. But once I saw it on me, I was like, oh my God, I have to buy this. So yes. But yeah, no, it was a really good experience. And then the follow-up was like really like thorough. She wrote down notes of everything that we went over with like the first meeting to the second meeting, and it was just so much. And
it's like taking notes after
yes,
every session.
I don't know how she did
make
it.
a note of that.
Yeah, I was like, how did she remember that I even had those pants in my closet? I was like, what is this? But amazing. I completely recommend her.
So this one is showing you basically how to mix prints. So when you're mixing prints, one thing you want to do is find prints or patterns that are similar in size. So if these were super huge stripes, it may not look right because the proportions, but the patterns are different sizes. So finding ones that are similar in size and also make sure they're the same color. So that's one idea on how to mix prints. This look was more to kind of show you how you can bring other colors out in your outfit. So I feel like the natural response is like, okay, I'll just pair this with some jeans. But why not play with the colors that are in your outfit to make it more interesting? So with pairing it with green pants, you're bringing out the green in the outfit, and you can still keep it basic on the bottom by still doing shoes that are just, you know, cream or white to go with the top. And this bag was kind of just to bring out the color, like bring out that orange in the top. This last look was more about how you can dress up, you know, anything basically. So this is just a t-shirt and some jeans and some sneakers, but you can easily dress that up by swapping out the sneakers for a pair of flats, and then adding a cardigan with it. So now you've dressed it up even more. You took it from just doing a casual store run to something a little more dressy by just adding an outer layer and then putting on a pair of flats. So that's what these three looks were about.
For real, y'all? For real. She's the person. So maybe you've noticed our amazing backdrop. And where I am, y'all, have you ever had like something so new that it just smelled new? That's what her house smelled like. Brand new, out of the packet house smell. So tell me about that. Like, so you're a mom, a wife, you have a house now. How's life?
So it's been ups and downs because, you know, we were so excited for like the house, like the process of the house and everything. And so we were excited about it, you know. We finally get to April because we just closed on the house like April 2nd. Yeah, so it's literally been a little over a month.
Yeah.
And so we closed April 2nd and we were all, you know, excited about it and everything. We moved in, and it's also a day before my son's birthday. So his birthday is April 3rd. So he turned 2 the day after we closed on the house. Oh. So it was a lot, you know, like we closed, it was his birthday. And then also, not to mention my husband started a new job. He started a new job and then he got an increase in this job as well. So we were excited, you know, it was a lot of things going for us. And then shortly after that, we found out we were having a baby.
Wait, what?
Not anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I was like super high highs. And then it was kind of like, so it was kind of like, you know, like you kind of question, see, you kind of have a moment like where you kind of are like, and it's crazy because we were like, oh, April's such a blessed month for us, which it is. Because in April, that's when we officially started, you know, dating, me and my husband in May, but we started like that was like our official date. Like but as far as us, but as far as us like kind of dating, getting to know each other, stuff like that, we started that in April. We had our wedding ceremony in April. Our son was born in April. He started his new job like recently in April. We closed on the house in April, you know, so it's just like April has always been like a super blessed month for us. Yeah. And so we're like, and it was funny because I was like, oh my God, like this is April's just a good month for us. Like we're super blessed. And then it was like right after that, also in April, we found out we were thinking and we were like, oh my God, you know, like this is so exciting, you know. So then it was just like, you know, you're on this super high. And then, you know, like we ended up miscarrying the baby. So then you're just like back super low. And so it's just kind of like you have those moments where you kind of question God, you know, like what you never will get it, you know, you'll never understand, but it's just kind of like, help me here, you know, like I don't really know what your reasoning for allowing it, you know, to happen. Yeah. And so for a minute I was legit angry, like
that's normal.
Well, honestly, it was the weirdest thing because we didn't have the initial signs that most people have, you know, when they're miscarrying. So I didn't have any of the signs that people usually would have. And I'm kind of like, okay, you know, maybe I'm just earlier in my pregnancy than I think I am. And so that could be just what's going on. So, you know, we're doing everything. We're standing on the word. Yeah. We're praying about it. You know, we're pleading to God about it, you know, having faith, not letting it, you know, as the bleeding is still continuing. But I'm still like, you know what, it may look like this, but, you know, God can do anything. He's a miracle working God, you know, all that. So, you know, we're like, no, you know, we're still going to keep believing. And then finally we ended up going, you know, back to the urgent care. And they were like, yeah, no, it's not, you know, like basically the baby's gone, basically. And so I was angry because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why would you allow me to get pregnant? You know, like, because in my mind, I'm like, for all that, you could just have not allowed me to get pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, and then
it feels like you're playing with my emotions. Like
yeah. You're like, I could have just not been pregnant, and that would have been okay. You know, but why allow me to get my hopes up? You know, and then just to allow, you know, like, so it's not even that I'm questioning, like, because you know, you never know what it could have been. It could have been like the baby could have been full term. The baby could have had health issues, or it could have been something with me. And so I think that's what kind of got me to. Like kind of, I don't want to say be okay with it, but kind of come to terms with it is knowing that everything happens for a reason. And I'd rather, if it would have been something where it could have been health issues, I'd rather the baby be happy and healthy in the best place that it could possibly be in heaven than be here, you know, and suffering. So that kind of, you know, kind of took me out of that space. And so I'm not angry anymore. For a minute, I wouldn't even listen to music. Like, I wouldn't listen to music because, you know, you listen to music. Oh, and then the worst part about it, this happened the day before Resurrection Sunday.
Oh, gosh.
And so I'm like, you know, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, you're a miracle working God. You know, we talk about how you raised Jesus from the grave, but you couldn't raise my baby is what was going on, you know, like in my mind. Like, you could do all these things, but you didn't do that, you know, so that's what was going on in my mind. So I was like angry, and like God had to take that anger away from me. I ended up going up for prayer that Easter Sunday, that Resurrection Sunday. And I went up for prayer, and literally my pastor prayed for me, and the Holy Spirit literally took the anger away from me because I literally was angry. Like, I wasn't even necessarily upset. I was angry. So I'm not angry anymore. And so the anger kind of subsided, and then it just turned into just, you know, disappointment or like sadness. But it became bearable. You know, at first it was like unbearable. So I just couldn't listen to music for a while because I was like, why would you, you know, like I want to hear songs about how good God is, which he is good. This doesn't take away from his goodness.
Yeah.
He is good, but you just kind of don't want to hear it when, you know, like when you're going through that, because you're like, he is these things, but why couldn't he do it for me? You know? So I just like for like a week straight, and I'm somebody that listens to music all the time, like all day, every day. And like for a week, I would not listen to music. Even opening up my Bible, I didn't really want to read it. I wasn't praying because I was like, what do we have to talk about? You know, like what is there to talk about? Like, that's not to say like, I'm like leave me alone, God, you know, but like, I'm like, I just don't have anything to say right now. Cause then it also felt like while that was going on, I'm trying to talk to you and I'm like seeking you and trying to get a word from you or an answer or something. And it felt like it was just silent. Like it felt like God was silent. And I'm like, I don't need silence. Like I need to hear, you know, like I need to hear something. So
tell me it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Tell me that I'm gonna have four more kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And it just was like silence. And so I'm just like, where are you? You know, kind of thing. So yeah, it took a minute to get out of that. But then eventually, like, I was like, you know, they say, God is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. So that had to kind of like resonate with me. And I'm like, okay, have a conversation with God, talk to him. It doesn't always have to be so, our Father, which, you know, like you can have a real conversation with God, like, God, what's up?
Why
like,
you do that?
Yeah, like what was the reason? You know, like what is going on? You know? And so I actually had like a conversation with God, like, I don't understand, you know, like, and like I said, I didn't hear anything back, but I felt better talking to him. Like I felt a peace about everything. Like, so it's definitely, you know, obviously you have subtle reminders here or there where you're like, oh, you know, like wish I was still, you know, but it's a lot better. Like I'm not walking around depressed or like in grief or anything anymore. Like obviously you never forget, obviously, but you can still go on with life and you can still move on and be thankful for the things that you do have.
That's how relationships are sometimes, you know, like it's kind of like when you're upset with Chuck, if you ever get upset with Chuck, I don't know.
Oh, yes, I do. No.
If I get upset with my husband, it's like, you know, I don't want to talk to you right now because I don't have anything to say, like you were saying. Yeah. But like eventually it's not going to get better unless you talk to them. And the fact that you still went to church on Easter, that you trust God enough to know that he's going to take that pain away. It's just, there's a lot of people who sit and they fester in that, not listening to music and dwelling in that depression and woe is me. And, you know, like God can't fix it if you don't talk to him. Yeah. And so like, that's good. Gosh, you got me all.
I'm like, oh, I didn't even, you know, plan for it to go there, but it just kind of did. And I mean, I don't mind it going there. Yeah. It just was like, initially that wasn't even the thought, you know, like, and it just came out.
That's how I asked, how is life? And you were honest. So you got highs and you have some lows and then life is like in between. Like you're just living in between.
Literally, I feel like I'm just there, you know.
It's like, okay, well, until the next thing. Hopefully the next thing's a high, you know? You have a relationship with Christ. You are living life like you're living, and you shared with us, and that's so real, because like that's so relatable, because that's how life is. We just be living in between the highs and the lows. Yeah. So for someone on the other side of the screen or this camera that may be right now living in a low period, is there anything you can give them as far as advice for them to want to pursue God for some type of answer?
Keep pursuing them. Mm-hmm. If you're somebody that is going through a low, keep pursuing God anyway. You may not hear his voice, like, you know, people say that still small voice. You may not hear him audibly, but God has not gone anywhere. Just because you don't hear him audibly, he's still there. He's still there for you to talk to him. Don't turn away from him and, I guess, cause your heart to get hard towards God because maybe you're going through something right now. And another thing to remember is that God doesn't put you through things. He may allow it to happen in your life, but God is the giver of every good and perfect gift. So if he's the giver of every good and perfect gift, he's not going to give you a bad gift. He's not going to do something that's going to hurt you or destroy you. The enemy does that. God may allow something to happen, but anytime God allows something to happen, there's a reason for him allowing. He could be developing something in you. You may not know what it is. You may be like, God, why would you let this happen? Like, why? I'm not understanding. And it's kind of like you don't understand it now, but you understand at some point. It may not be tomorrow that you understand. It could be 5 years from now. We don't know. We don't know God's timeline. We don't know what his plans are for our life. But only he knows, so you don't know, but it's like he has a purpose and a plan for everything. So you may be in a super low, but just don't stay where you're at. Don't stay in that depression or in that grief. Continue to talk to God, speak to God, spend time in his word. Sometimes that's another thing. You may not hear him audibly, but if you're reading his word, he can literally answer your question, or the answer to your question or what your thought is literally in the word. You could be reading something. And you're like, oh my God, it's clicking now. Like I may not have heard God say this, like, my son, this is what, say it to you. But like, if you're reading his word and you spend time in his word, grief and depression doesn't have a place like in your heart if you're literally just filling it with the things of God. So I would say just don't stay in that grief or stay in that place that you're at. Continue to seek the Lord, continue to seek God. It's natural to want to have your heart get hard or like, I don't want to speak to anybody. I want to isolate myself. Don't isolate yourself. Continue to spend time in the Lord. And that's what I would say, honestly, for those going through those times.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
So just know, you might not be going through a hard time now, but like we said, we're in between the highs and the lows. And so if you do feel like you're about to go through or you hit a rough part, trouble don't last always. Yeah. And rewind this video and hear what she said again, okay? Because I might have to do that in the future. That was very good advice. So, Catirra, she's awesome. So, okay, Catirra, how can we connect with you if someone is watching this video and they're like, or listening to this podcast and they're like, I definitely need a wardrobe revamp? How do we contact you?
So my website is, my business is StyledbyCat. So my website is getstyledbycat.com. Book a consultation. A consultation is free. That's the thing too.
It's a free consultation, guys. Yeah. And she's so easy to talk to. She gives you all the details even before like you actually like start working with her. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think people think, I think maybe that's what kind of makes people hesitant is they think if they book a consultation, like we're locked in and we have to do it. You're not pressured to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. A consultation is literally to just have a conversation, see what you're looking for, see if I'm a good fit, see if I'm not a good fit. Literally just having a conversation is the consultation. And it's not a whole hour-long consultation. It's literally just a 30-minute consultation. I get to know you, get to know what your goals are, what you're looking for. And then you can just follow up and let me know if you want to move forward or if you don't want to move forward, but at least you have the information. So like I said, my website is getstyledbycat.com, or you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram, I'm gonna spell it because my name is not easy to know. So my name is Catirra, and so my Instagram is @Catirra. So it's CATIRRA. And so you could reach me either one of those places on the website, or you could just go on my Instagram, kind of see, like my posts. And you can just go to my bio, and my website's also in my bio. So you can just click the link there as well.
So easy to contact her. So what you waiting for?
Exactly.
Well, look, Catirra, you're the mom. Thanks for coming to ShineSession.
Thank you for having me.